So now we're going to transition from the regulatory aspect and talk more about mobile apps. So one could ask, are mobile apps becoming a sort of all-encompassing one-stop shop platform, or will they remain as a set of independent services in sort of more silos? This is what our next panel is going to talk about. The theme is, will super apps redefine the future of financial services? And to moderate this panel, I say a warm welcome to Che Sidanius, who is co-founder of Global Coalition to Fight Financial Crime. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay, so thank you very much for that introduction. I can't think of a more interesting title than Can Super Apps Redefine Financial Services? So we're really talking about some incredible developments happening all across the world, but in particular in Asia and in Europe. And what we'll do is talk about from a retail perspective and the opportunities for a consumer experience, or what potentially super apps will do and the opportunities that it represents. And to do that, I'm going to welcome our panelists. If I could welcome first Rushi Shastri from the State Bank of India. Then I'll introduce KRC Murthy, please, from the Kotak Mahindra Bank, and please find your seats. Vivek Sakardi, please. And then last but certainly not least, Vladimir Tatinov. So, Rushi,
yeah.
It's quite a title. Will super apps redefine financial services? And from your perspective, working at the State Bank of India, you could first kind of define what is a super app, what are the opportunities and potential challenges?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank all the JTech sponsors and all listed for giving the opportunity to present here. So directly jumping to the super app, first I'd like to give the background and I'll try to cover the practical aspects. I don't mostly believe in jargons and all these things, buzz and all these things. So let me try to cover in the practical aspects. When it comes to BFSI, traditionally or eventually it is like involved into deposits, payments, investments, record keeping, cash maybe. These are the attributes. Oh, it was there, still it is there. But eventually it has converted into three parameters. That is identity, information, and experience. So if you want to achieve these three attributes, you have to get married with the latest state-of-art technologies. And one of the way to achieve this is super apps. Okay, so I'll give you the example. What exactly super app? Let's go with the banking. We have witnessed initially there was an app which was only performing non-financial transactions, mini statement, balance inquiry. Eventually there was another app with fund transfers, bill payments. Then there was upgradation, e-commerce, and a hell lot of players. We stitch in the subsidiary products also. Then we came to know the insurance and mutual funds. All these kind of steps also come. So as an organization, I had now a lot of apps, small apps. So what we need to do if you want to give the end user experience, I have to collaborate all the apps. That is nothing but a super app. Okay. So is it restricted just or confined to banking? No. Like a classic example we have witnessed in our that RTA app in Dubai. Example of super app wherein all transportation has been covered. In medical field, if you club and if you get all sort of services under one place, under one roof, classic example of super apps, and so on and so forth. So it's not a jargon, it's a very basic terminology wherein I get everything and anything under one roof. So that's the basic idea. Same applies to our organization also, wherein we try to club under one roof, under one app, all activities as much as possible, and we are bifurcated into super apps. So that's my basic take from super apps. Further, I will like my client fellow panelists to put on the line.
Thank you. And maybe KRC, same question to you. Where do you see the opportunities? Why did your organization decide to invest so heavily into this? And And maybe what are the potential challenges that you're also facing this?
Thank you, everyone, especially all those guys who are patiently hearing us. Thank you for being here. So I come from one of the largest private sector banks in India, and we have actually launched this application almost 5 years back, which we call as a super app, which is termed as a super app now. So what happens is, for my client, it is a convenience which I give, right? When you open an account with me and when you download my mobile app, you just log into my mobile app. You don't do only banking and banking related transactions, payments, etc. You do everything in once. It's a one-stop shop for you. You buy forex, you're going abroad, you want to do all your banking transactions, done. You want to buy groceries, scroll down, go to the groceries. You want to buy do some fashion shopping, you do there, right? You want to book a plane ticket, air ticket, a train ticket, everything. Why should I book it through your app? Because I don't charge any convenience fee. That's the value add which I give to my client. It's basically, and you buy insurance, you buy mutual funds, you invest in stocks of different companies, not only my bank. You can invest in various companies. You can do all your investments, insurance, everything under one app, right? I don't want you to have 50 apps on your phone. The most important thing is you have to think millennials. That's the next gen. They don't have patience, right? It's for them. You have to think 10 years ahead. What is that these guys want? My biggest I learn from my kids. When I get up, they are the ones who actually teach you what is happening, right? I call myself being managing in technology, but when I talk to them, I understand I don't know anything, right? So they teach you what is required. So hear them, learn from them. So that's what we try to do, and we are trying to build more and more. And you can just open an account within 15 minutes. You download my app, fill in all the details, do a video KYC online. The guy will call you on the video. You show your documentation. You are done. You don't visit the branch at all, and everything is on your fingertips. That's what I call a super app. A convenience, one-stop shop, which I don't want you to maneuver around.
Well, it sounds like an incredible improvement from where we are today, where we have, multiple dozens of apps on our phones, and we keep going back and forth between many of them, and just having a one-stop shop for that is quite something. And maybe from your perspective, Vivek, where do you see the opportunities? So we heard certainly from the financial services space, but what other opportunities are there that you see?
Yeah, good afternoon, Dubai. So in India, we use one word, thoda aur. It means a little more. So I think the integration of multiple services in one application is called as a super app, where you can get all the services. Customers don't need to go to the other app, and they will get everything on a single application. In India, like in worldwide, you have Kareem in your Middle East, and then Rappi in your Latin America. In India, we have few super apps like Tata Neo is there, then Paytm is there. So most in these apps, you easily get all the services. You can do the online payment, you can do the transactions, you can do the insurance. Again, you can book a tickets either for a train or for the plane or buses. You can go to the amusement park, just book a ticket by using these applications. So just enhancing your customer experience, and customer need to come, because retention is very easy in a super app. So that's the opportunity. Your customer is not going anywhere. He's coming back to you now and there. So that's the advantage you have with this. And the way these super apps have a financial model, like they have some commissions, they take all the commissions on all the transactions. They have a customer's data, so they go for the upsell, cross-sell opportunities. So this is the way we are collecting the data, and the way we are doing the upsell, cross-sell is definitely going to increase our revenue and enhance the customer-based data.
And Vladimir, from your perspective, so we heard what's happening in South Asia, which is quite exciting. I was certainly not aware that it's actually quite a mature and fast-growing market. From your perspective, based in Cyprus, what's your experience in terms of opportunities, adoption, and where does Europe stand in terms of this development?
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with my colleagues on this panel. So, application and super application become more and more critical at the current time. And latest events that we had 2 years ago with COVID that show that offline business can stop, but online business grow up and should improve and prove themselves. Even current situation when a lot of people traveling between different countries, fortunately it's right now open that we can do this. Everyone could have on his hands something that can help in different countries and different regions to buy, to make credit, to pay for tickets, go to some shop and so on. And what we observe on Europe actually, super app, especially on financial market, become critical to grow business. Because on the same application, you have different options, how you can buy, how you can sell, how you can invest, where you can get the investment, and so on. So, and European community, as well as authority, more and more seriously how it should be regulated, how onboarding process should go, how payment, how fraud control should be there. And each application that goes to this market should take care about this. And from technology point of view, it's a lot of challenges that we meet right now. How you store your data, how you show this data for your clients, how you can be sure that each transaction passed your KYC, your fraud control, and how you can report this to your regulator to be sure that everything on good shape and there is no breakage, there is no data leak that we heard every day actually. And technology-driven company right now looks like is more serious about financial market. And what they can propose is something that we didn't see last year, even 10 years ago. We already mentioned that Millennium, that becomes more and more financial independent right now, is something that drives our financial market. How they behave in this application, actually what we can see in the next 5-7 years.
And what are the challenges, do you think, KRC, in terms of where we go from here? And I can imagine there's some incredible things happening in India, for example, that you told me about. And maybe you can tell us about the Indian governments, and maybe you can comment on this as well, on ONDS.
ONDC.
ONDC, excuse me. And maybe talk about that, and maybe also discuss, where are we in terms of cross-border capability?
From a challenge perspective, it's a very tight market, Che.
Yeah.
It's a pretty intense competition which is there, unlike any other region, any other sector, right? Banking also.
At times, my exposure is little high if something goes wrong. So that's the only challenge what I see for end user per se. Organization per se, we have been talking, the super app is a need of an hour, this, that. But how to achieve that? What are the challenges to achieve or to reach the super app? First and foremost, as I said, if I have a complicated app in front of you, no one will use it. So I have to make sure that has to be user-friendly and streamlined. It's very easy to say, but difficult to achieve because super apps, as most of the panelists have mentioned, there are a hell lot of activities. Now, I cannot have a hell lot of activities under one frame. So I have to have that design interface in such a good way that it should be easy to use. First challenge. Second challenge, as we again say that I'm going to do A, B, C, everything under one app. That means at the back end, I have to integrate hell lot of applications. Is that so easy? No, definitely no. It requires a lot of effort, lot of fine tuning, and then I will able to achieve the interoperability or democratization of all the services under one roof. So that itself is a challenge. Maybe first time you can achieve it, but over a period of time, you have to patch the application, you have to upgrade the application. Now I need to upgrade the hell lot of integration of bucket of services. Trust me, that's a challenge. Third, if I have a bucket of services, definitely it will come for a cost. Cost means performance. So if I'm giving you an app and which is very slow, it takes a lot of time for processing. Will I use it? No. So I have to make sure I strike a right balance between the performance and the services offered. Last but not the least, security. If I'm integrating again all bucket of services, as an organization, I have to ensure that integrity is maintained. That's why I touch base upon my first point. The 3 parameter is identity, information, and experience. Now, this identity, information, and experience is exactly correlated to what are the challenges I have mentioned. If I overcome these challenges, then I can compete in the place where sir has such a huge competition. I can compete in the market if I'm able to overcome the challenges in a continuous manner. This continuous manner is a bold terminology. Just to launch is not the need of an hour. To maintain, it's the need of an hour. So that's my submission. Challenges vis-a-vis attributes or experience what is expected to end user super app per se.
So let's explore that a little bit, Vivek, if we could. Because I hear potential immense challenges related to cybersecurity, data privacy, and obviously the integrity of the ecosystem when you have to interface with so many components. How do you deal with that? And how do you ensure the regulators and the supervisors are happy with the integrity of the system itself?
So compliance and taking the approvals is the biggest challenge whenever you go for any super app. For you know that all these super apps based on the how your data integration have been placed in the system, and placing all the data from all the systems, and in fact you have to integrate it from the third party. That's the biggest challenge. Internal data, okay, you can get the compliance approvals easily, but when you are integrating some other vendors' data, that's the biggest challenge for you. You have to sign a lot of contract, and that take a lot of time. Another challenge, like Rishi mentioned, that the integration. Of course, he explained a lot of on the integration parts. The third challenge which I find is getting a right resource and right talent to develop these kind of applications, and how you make sure that how your data is secured. Who will be the owner of that data and how you can own it, that data. Like in my previous organization in the insurance sector, we have developed an application. So normally in general insurance in India, if 90% of things has been the motor insurance in India, and once if someone have an accident, they need to settle. It will take time around 20 to 25 days to settle the claim. So what we had done there, that we integrated this data, we created some algorithms behind the application, and if customer comes and just click the pick of accidental part of a car, suppose the accident happens on the right side of a bumper, they just need to pick and upload it to the mobile app, and behind that we have an application which can take almost just 60 seconds to settle down the claim. So if you can see that from where 25 to 30 days, and here is just come a 60 seconds to settle down. Still, customer wants it should be settled in a more 15 or 20 seconds. That's the expectation of the customers, which of course we had said. But it's not very easy, because for that, in a backend, I need the data from all the car manufacturers, and I need to update in every quarterly basis, because the parts are changing, new models are coming into the market. Again, the pricing are also changing for that. So whenever I have to update the inventory, on base of that inventory, we need to update the data, and that whenever the claim comes to the application level, we need to throw the price to the customer. So suppose if the inventory is not updated, you might go with an old inventory and you can just project it like a $10,000 or $15,000, but actual cost might be 20,000, that claim. So that will be the loss for us. So we need to see that how the things are working. We need to do a lot of testing on that. And again, we have to take the approvals to the customers.
Yeah. And Vladimir, same point to you, if you would comment on where you see the challenges are, yeah? What's that?
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. Very exciting thing, but let me ask you one very important thing. Let's imagine it is true that a lot of people here have 3 different movie subscriptions, right? Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix, whatever. 2, 3 music ones, 2, 3 taxi, food stores, and etc., etc. And nobody wants to combine. For example, if you ask Apple Plus and Disney Plus to come together, they say, so what it will be, the next step, it will be, now it's 5,000 applications, and tomorrow it will be 5,000 super applications, all divided by the camps, right? So one bank, its own application. So how will user choose camp to accept, right? How the user will choose this super application in all, let's say.
Who wants to take that? You'll take it? Okay.
Hello. Yeah. So two aspects. First and foremost, I guess you have given the example how to collaborate. Why will collaborate rather? If A is working okay, B is working, C is working, why they will collaborate? Over here, regulators come into picture. UPI, ONDC. Now, private entity, maybe they are not willing to come. No, I'm very happy. I hosted, I'm doing all sort of application. But if you want to achieve that interoperability, someone, superpower, we call it as a regulator or government, they come into picture. They force sometimes that please everyone should come under one roof. And then integration happens. So that's the first thing. Second thing, how to choose, how user will choose. Because say for example, I have 10, 15 super apps itself. Now that depend upon the 4 challenges which I have mentioned. The app, the organization, which will overcome these 4 challenges. If you give a good performance, the user will use it. Or if you just give a good offer, they may use for a 1, 2 or 3 purpose. Then it will subsequently drop off. So if you want to retain the customer, that gamification, that reward relationship, and you have to make sure the engagement is maintained. And that can be achieved again with the latest technologies only. So that's what I say. It's a continuous process. It cannot be done in one go. That has to be in a revolving manner, continuous way.
And maybe we'll ask-
I think a fantastic question, right? He asked a very good question,
Yeah.
saying that why would I actually want to come onto the platform where I'm killing myself, right? It's there are 10,000 small shop owners, for example. They all will come together on the super app and say, okay, I'm going to go there. For example, Amazon in India is too large, right? They don't want to come onto this platform. But these guys are going to give a tough time to them, right? And as he said, somewhere the regulator also will step in and say, you want to do business, right? You want to actually spread your wings? Please come on to this. Give the fair chance to the customer. Here the customer is the king. We are trying to give the bargaining power and the purchasing power to the customer. And the government will do whatever they want to do to give the right choices, right? If the mega one doesn't do it, all the small fishes, they will all try to kill the big shark. Yeah, so that's how it is.
So
Yeah,
before,
actually,
before
from
we
my
head-
point of view, yeah.
Yeah, just one minute. So if anyone else has a question or intervention, please. I didn't realize we actually had mics.
And also anyone knows of a super app, something like that, someone can raise in any other countries. Probably we want to learn about it. We don't know because that will be great if someone has a super app. Someone can put their hand up. I would surely want to speak and learn.
So we have a few questions floating around. There's one over there, but Vladimir, please. Because in addition to that, Vladimir,
Yes,
within
actually-
Europe, you have GDPR on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is that the question raises very good questions,
Yeah.
challenges. The most serious challenge for any super app to be flexible and deliver new functionality as soon as possible. This is the most challenging task for any super app. And in order to make this, for businesses, it's a critical task to make a team that can work together, because you know that compliance took their position, engineering they took their position, they battle between each others,
Yeah.
and business just want to deliver something new. And for any kind of businesses right now, it's very important to create a right team who can perform, who can execute and deliver to collect additional clients and get more good experience from the clients.
Because it raises a broader question, right? And we're going to get to him. And I think who's first? Okay. Which is the whole point of how the data is going to be used at the end of the day, right? If you collect it, because the data is the new oil,
It's more about how you can provide a real-time analysis and real-time offers to the customer.
Yeah.
It's all about the customer experience and the
lessons to be learned. But my question is that when you talk about super apps, aren't we suppressing the innovation happening in a small startups which are focusing on a very niche level of services, and then we are repeating the same mistake or same example of what happened in US, in Silicon Valley, where Facebook took over small companies and became a big shark, and it's an end of innovation. So are we going in a direction where super apps are building up and they'll end the innovation of a small companies, be it in a fintech or in a food delivery, where they are very good in what they are doing in one micro level kind of services. Whereas Super App gives you 50 options. They may not be the expert in all of them. They are just becoming bigger and bigger and taking over small companies. So isn't this a challenge that we are facing again, what we have seen in Silicon Valley?
Please.
That's a very good question, in fact, Jitin. But I think this is a right time where these all small organizations can come together and go hands in hands. Because definitely, this will be a challenge which will be go on and on. But these innovative companies, again, they have to innovate the product and they have to hand over to someone, and then again they need to come up with some new innovation. Because innovation is not like a one time, it's a journey for everyone. So they should come up with these, and of course, it's all about the customer experience. If your small application also giving a good customer experience to a customer, they can definitely do the adoption. And if the adoption is only possible if you have a good application. If it's not giving you enough good experience to the customer, definitely try to go to the super app or some other application. So that's a challenge. If you are not going for super apps, also that's also a challenge in the market, because it's not like all these startups. There are millions of startups coming up. Everyone is coming up with the new products. So that challenge will always be there.
So another point to that is, we are not trying, no one is trying to kill the innovation done by a small company, right? Like for example, if I talk about my application, so I'm not building everything. I'm only onboarding you, and I'm providing you an API. I'm connecting to your app. You are the owner of your app, but you are onboarded on my app as a convenience, right? So you, as a small, for example, you are the app owner. You get a base of X million of my customers, right? Right in one app. So don't you want to explore that, right? So the innovations will continue. However, the challenge of the competition will also be there. That's how the world works, right? Whether you like it or not, the competition will be there. If your app is the best, people will come to you. Maintain the standards, and if the super app doesn't work, as he said, if it doesn't meet the security standards, doesn't meet the regular guidelines, no one would go to it. It'll fall flat. It's all about customer convenience. I think both will exist. They have to coexist. The marriage needs to happen.
All right, we'll take another question from here, please.
Hi guys, I'm Paul. I'm looking at a startup that looks at micro investing and savings. I have a question for you about compliance. So when you have a super app, let's say you have an app that offers something on driving, something on insurance, something on banking, yeah? Now, I understand that each of these businesses that are collated would do their own compliance. But what happens when one compliance actually is important for another business as well, and it is not upgraded? Do you cut the customer out of everything? How do you manage compliance? Also, the second question is things like today, which is important, at least in this region, is things like CRS and FATCA, etc. How do you manage the compliance across a huge base of customers, across various businesses, which could ask for different things? So for example, one compliance would be, is your Emirates ID up to date? Or your visa is up to date? The second could be, do you still have a job? A third could be, does your license work? I mean, has it expired? Or various things. So how do you manage compliance across these super apps?
Well, when we say super app as a definition, it's a consolidation of all services under one roof. But at the back end, each application will perform his or own task. Say for example, now let's take a classic example of banking app. In a bank, I'm doing a banking, insurance, mutual fund, and say for example, e-commerce. So my e-commerce application team will do the necessary compliance, regulatory, all sort of stuff in his or her own way. Same applicable to my banking. For example, if I have to onboard the new customer, I will make sure that FATCA declaration is taken, CRS is taken. He cannot just jump on super app and start performing the transaction. In the front end, user may see that all these things can happen under one roof. But at the back end, all policies, all necessary steps is being done. It's being done by all the organization. User may not be aware. Say for example, if I am opting any insurance policy, if I click on that tab, there may be some pop-up or there may be some consent. That is nothing but a compliance. Or maybe while onboarding or while doing video KYC, I enter second factor authentication. That is again nothing but a compliance. So all sort of compliance in a digital manner, if wherever require maybe digital signature certificate, wherever require multi-factor authentication, there are stitching in a smart way, in a digital way, so that user experience is enhanced. That doesn't mean we are not following compliance, at least in the Indian context. I'm not sure about the other apps or maybe the unregulated area, maybe e-commerce also. I guess even if I go for e-commerce transaction, beyond certain limit, I have to opt for multi-factor authentication. There is below low limit, I guess I can pass through the transaction. That is again a compliance example. Yeah, the one thing we have to ensure compliance per se when it comes to data. As I said, that will be a challenge. Over here, there will be a twisting in the policies of compliance, because earlier I was managing certain aspect of the data. Now this is a 360-degree view of my entire customer life cycle. So over there, definitely organization has to put an effort to maintain the integrity. But overall, as in as the compliance has been taken care by most of the organization when it comes to super app per se.
But that would need to be streamlined though, right? I mean, in other words, as soon as you onboard a customer, downstream down the line, there need to be some kind of minimum standards across all the...
I'll give you the example of streamlining. Say for example, if someone is coming for account opening. While account opening, I have certain terms and condition, I have certain consent. Now I have to onboard him for super app. What I will do, as a streamlined manner, I will add one more TNC for insurance. I will add another TNC for cards. I will add another TNC for mutual fund. So while onboarding itself, the consent has been taken. So my compliance has been satisfied in one go for all allied activities.
So to answer your question, your question, how do you? It's again a great question, So this is where the regulators come into place. Like in India, RBI, the regulator who controls all the banks and financial institutions, IRDA for insurance, and SEBI for the markets, right? Equity markets. These are the guys who sit on your head like an hawk. If you're not compliant, they are not in business. Simple. They are very stringent in India. Like any other country, GDPR guidelines coming in, US or Singapore MAS, HK MAS, these are the guys who control it. To answer your question, I think the compliance is headed by these regulators very stringently, and the clients are also, they check what is the rating of this guy who I'm investing with, AAA plus, A plus, or A minus or something like that. They are very intelligent. Customers are very intelligent. So even if I have onboarded that guy onto my app, he'll just not go. He'll just not use it. So I know the metrics of who's using what app. So compliance is basically, very stringently headed by the regulators across the board. Otherwise, they are not in business.
Yeah, actually, let me add some words there. From my point of view, you can consider super app as a data warehouse. It's consumed data from end user, consume data about behavior of clients, what they do, how they do. Did they make some not good things, is there some kind of wrongs of this client, and so on. And if you integrate in new businesses, like from previous questions, some startup, these startups can benefit because they can recognize, okay, this person is something that we are looking at. This behavior, what we expected from them. And the question for super app is how to guarantee data security between super app and these applications that you integrated. And actually, the final decision should be on application side that provide these services. They should have on place their own compliance, and they should make decision on the data that they collect from main application, from super app. And also, they should be ready to provide additional information for this client. Because from this point of view, everyone will benefit. You will provide information about how people behave on your particular case, and you will receive data from other cases as well.
Vivek?
So in our case, if you can see, we have the regulatory bodies and we have internal clients. So of course, from the regulatory bodies, we have to follow that. Like in India, we have IRDA, SEBI. But when compliance comes from our client side, that's the challenge for us because we have a different clients, data is stored in our different servers and different data marts. We have a contract with them that we cannot share data either. In fact, we have a contract that we only share data with a Google or Azure. So when these kind of challenges comes, we have to make sure that whenever the application is hosted, it should either on a Azure or on a Google. So that's the biggest challenge for us, but that we have to make sure that, okay, what kind of a contract we have, and we have to take care of these processes whenever we're hosting our application on the cloud.
And how do you deal with data privacy and data localization, right? Because there's a number of regions in the world where you actually have to store the, if you want the data itself in the country that you do your business, in terms of how that affects cross-border, and if you have an Indian citizen living in Dubai or in France or what have you. How do you deal with those issues?
Yeah, so being a chief data officer, that's the biggest challenge which I have faced. In fact, not about the cross-border. In fact, inside your organization, if you have multiple groups in the organization, suppose you have a one big group like a Reliance and you have a multiple groups, subgroups in that also you cannot share the data. So, but we have to see that which data we cannot share. It's not like that all data you can't share. You have the customer data, you have the financial data, that only you cannot share inside the organization or outside the cross-border. So that things, either you have to mask the data or you cannot share it outside the organization, outside the app. So that things can be taken care by us, that we make sure that that should not go outside our atmosphere. In fact, most of the time the threat is not from the external, threat is from the internal stakeholders. So we have to see that who have the access of data and take the proper approvals, and that's yeah.
Okay, so I'm just conscious we have about 5 minutes left or so. Please don't hesitate to raise your hand if I can't see it for any other comments or statements. And maybe what we could do is close up in terms of closing remarks. Where do we go from here? What is next year going to look like? Where, clearly it's been a point made that in regions with the young demographics, has potential great opportunities in terms of their expectation of the user experience, and maybe we can go down the line starting with Rush. From a year from now, where are we going to be?
Yeah, as I said, there is a paradigm shift. Earlier, there was something called services were confined to certain individual services. Now we are saying something to integration of all services. I guess going ahead, what I see, maybe there will be bifurcation between the premium, basic, and sort of kind of stuff, wherein users or services will be bifurcated within the app for special privilege customers, special privilege premium customers, something like that for the engagement of user. That's what I see in the next stage of generation.
I think the coming months and years is going to be very exciting. A lot of things happening in a very short span of time, as I mentioned earlier. The technology is, leapfrogging so much that we are not able to, hold it. And biggest thing is talent. Holding the talent, and getting them to service us is a problem. It's the world of millennials, so think millennials and launch the products. Don't complicate it too much. Keep it simple because the customers want a simple one. Don't put a lot of jargons and all. Just make it very simple technology, easy to use, convenience. That's what we are talking of, super apps, right? And building is easy, but as he rightly said, maintaining it and making sure the compliance is adhered to. There are no leaks of your data or no leaks of security issues. That's important. That's what all banks are about. So go slow, no problem. Let others launch. Take your time, but build a robust application, whatever you want to do.
Thank you. Vivek.
So it's all about digitization, making things simple for the customer. Next 5 years is for AI, blockchain, IoT, and super apps. So be eye on that.
Thank you.
Actually, totally agree with my colleague as well. And from my point of view, the future actually decentralization in terms of financial service, in terms of regulation, and so on. And as we see, millennium people became more and critical for financial sectors. And as we observe right now, Web3 tokens, metaverse became a part of our economy. We have to accept this and make some products that reflect demand from the clients.
Fantastic. Well, we'll conclude with that, almost right on time as well. So please join me on thanking our great panelists for their interventions. Thank you.
Just being so patient here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for a truly interesting and very relevant conversation and really showcasing that integrating and consolidating super apps in parallel with niched, small, more niched apps, is that the way forward? And thank you so much for facilitating this panel. Thank you.